I love that Mark Musa assures us that, well, remembering that, first of all, these were written in Chinese pictograph, um, and then it's been translated so many times into so many languages, including English. I told you, I think I have at least 8 or 10 different translations of the Dao de Jing, and they all have their interesting aspects. On page 85, so part of what I'm saying is so many of these are just so inscrutable. The appearance of grand integrity is that it follows the way alone. The way objectified is blurred and nebulous. How nebulous and blurred, yet within it there are images. How blurred and nebulous, yet within it there are objects. How cavernous and dark, yet within it there is an essence. Its essence is quite real. Within it there are tokens. From the present back to the past, its name has been imperishable. Through it we conform to the Father of the masses. How do I know what the Father of the masses is like? Through this. Mic drop. Okay, let's do number 6, page 11. The softest thing under heaven gallops triumphantly over the hardest thing under heaven. The softest thing, I tell you, that's a yin thing, and a hard thing is a yang thing. Non-being penetrates non-space. Hence, I know the advantages of non-action. Non-being penetrates non-space. So now I can understand the advantages of non-action. Remember, non-action or acting, action without acting. Action without acting. Wu Wei. Things get done without my having to think I have to do them. The doctrine about words, the advantage of non-action. Few under heaven can realize these things. Keep going here. When the way prevails under heaven, so when the Tao really is flowing and creatures, especially humans, are flowing with it, then swift horses are relegated to fertilizing fields. When the way does not prevail under heaven, war horses breed in the suburbs. No guilt is greater than giving in to desire. No disaster is greater than discontent. No crime is more grievous than the desire for gain. Therefore, contentment that derives from knowing when to be content, that's eternal contentment. We'll come back to the George Harrison one. Let's go to pages 16 and 17 just to kind of do these together. Number 11, the pursuit of learning results in daily increase. Oh, that's Confucius. At 15, I set my heart to learning the classics. At 25, I knew them by heart. At 35, right? The pursuit of learning results in daily increase. Oh, yes, it does. Hearing the Tao leads to daily decrease. Decrease and more decrease until you reach non-action. Through Wu Wei, no action is left undone. Should one desire to gain all under heaven, one should remain ever free of involvements. For just as surely as one becomes involved, one is unfit for gaining all under heaven. And I think we're going to, well, it's going to be part of your reading this week from Musa, and you should read it, where we learned that about half of the Dao de Jing is really about rulers and how they ought to do their thing. And there is a similarity between the Taoist ideal and the Confucian here, and that similarity would be that the best leader leads by example. Now, the example that each respective leader would set is sufficiently different that we should appreciate that. But the bigger point is that Taoism, or the Dao de Jing, actually does spend a lot of its energy and words, its stanzas, on giving us images of the ideal ruler, here called a sage. So this may be the only one we have, at least in these handouts. The sage never has a mind of his own. He considers the minds of the common people to be his mind. Treat well those who are good. Also treat well those who are not good. In this way, goodness is attained. Be sincere to those who are sincere. Also be sincere to those who are insincere. And thus sincerity is attained. The sage, remember I told you, and I've actually known two sages like this. One was the Herb Prince fella that I mentioned to you the other day. Herb Prince. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm going to have to inflict a little bit of Point Loma history on you. Sorry. I'm not really sorry. Herb Prince is this fellow. Not surprisingly, he's... well, I mean, he's in the picture, of course. But, you know, he's the only one whose body is cut off by the frame. I don't know what that means. But he is the Taoist sage. He is Yoda. Still with us. This fellow over here, on the other side, Frank Carver, was the guru of New Testament at Point Loma for many years. Very fine scholar. I have a wonderful story about him that I'm not going to tell you right now. But I love Frank Carver. You see, that's me. This is I. And this was relatively early in my time at Point Loma, in the first several years. And I admired these three, this one being Reuben Welch, truly an icon and a legend at Point Loma. You know, after whom the School of Theology and Christian Ministry has just been named. We're now the Reuben Welch School. You probably know that. If you don't, that's the guy right there, Reuben Welch. So Frank Carver, Reuben Welch, and Herb Prince. This is at that deli out there on 8. It's a really nice place. Bought him breakfast. Just wanted to listen to them talk to each other. And, man, I love these guys. Anyway, that's Herb. Herb Prince. And then my philosophy professor, and actually Rob Thompson's philosophy professor in our undergrad work. I'm a bit ahead of Rob on that one. In fact, this guy came while I was a student. His name he's still with us, Edwin Crawford. And he came at the outset of my senior year. And I took 5 courses from him, that philosophy courses, in that 1 year. And I don't have time to tell you this. Well, yeah. I remember that first class I was in with him, metaphysics, early Monday morning. And about 10 minutes in, I remember both probably thinking to myself and writing my notes. Oh, so this is what a philosopher's supposed to think like. We'd had a guy, no kidding, who'd been at Northwest Nazarene for decades. J.W. Jones. Mean as nails and not a pleasant man. Oh man, Yang all the way. Let me get that in there. Yang all the way. We'd come into class, and not every day, but many days, he'd start up on one end of the chalkboard. Of course, this is before overheads and stuff, but he would. This was still unusual then. He would start over on this end and start writing stuff down as he's lecturing. He's basically, saying these words and probably, elaborating on them, but he's writing. Basically, he's writing down what he wants to make sure you write down. And by the end of the hour, he'd filled up that whole board. Man, I'm going to teach you more about this than I realized. So a lot of words up there, and but again, basically force feeding. I remember there was a student named Ken Sarayakov, oh lovely fella, and one day he had the nerve. This was like ethics. I think it was my freshman year, and Ken raises his hand, and Dr. Jones, who didn't really entertain questions very often, sees Ken's hand raised, and so calls on him, and Ken, this sucked all the room out of the air. Ken said, "Hey, is there any room for creativity in this class?" Creativity, that's the in, right? That's flowing, well, of course, I wasn't thinking in these terms then, but we were all wondering, oh my, is this guy going to survive? Here's what Jones did. He said, everybody take out a sheet of paper. We all did. Write your name on it. Oh, maybe we're going to do something kind of creative, Write a poem. Write your name on it. All right. Fold it up and put it in your backpack. There's creativity for you. That was it. So his successor was this guy, Edwin Jones. And again, I'm just saying, like 5 minutes in, I thought, oh. I mean, I was kind of being sarcastic with myself because we all know that. And Jones was kind of respected in a weird way. And he, people ended up learning a lot from him. There's no doubt. But it was, it was harsh. Gee whiz, Confucian. And it just strikes me how Ed Crawford, very quiet, retiring, never noisy, never, oh my goodness. He and Herb Prince are almost like flowing from the same stream. Almost said cut from the same cloth, but, let's make it more yin. Flowing from the same stream. And Ed, oh man, I mean, so Rob came as a student about 15 years after I had graduated, and then I'd come back, as a professor there, Northwest Nazarene. So now Edwin Crawford was my colleague, which was very special, really, really, really wonderful for yours truly. And so then, of course, that's when Ed was the real shaping force in Rob's life. No question. Although Rob, he was a philosophy major, but and I had him in world religions, and we like to say that was the semester when he actually learned that he was a smart guy. Not necessarily only in my class, although he did write a wonderful paper on Japanese religion, and we're not even going to discuss that really. Shinto is the traditional Japanese religion. Some things just have to, be sacrificed. Google it. Well, he wrote a great paper. He'd been to Japan. He had photographs, the whole 9 yards. It was really good. I think about that time, he was finding out by the kinds of reactions he got from Ed Crawford. Oh, because he had been a student. He was a student leader. He was kind of a goof off. He was, he's funny, and he was in the choir. He was Mr. Cool. And all of a sudden he realized, oh, I got something going on up here. And so I also had him in senior theology, 2 semester course, his senior year. And he blew the top off the, I don't curve anyway, but I mean, there was another student that he competed with. They competed all year. And both ended up with PhDs. But I want to tell you, Rob is by far the more brilliant of those two fellas, as lovable as the other fella is. Well, shucks, I got to actually do a little bit more now. Sorry.